Might have to pull the oil filter out. There's like a shaft. It's coming through there. I didn't think you'd have to put it's all but off there though. Nothing up under there. Should be good. In the book, they're showing you pull the oil filter housing. Something is, I don't want to put a lot of pressure on it. Plastic work. I mean, it's all but up. Something's got it. Something's holding. Something's definitely holding. I don't know what's holding it. What is holding it? It was coming out there easy. There it goes. Make sure nothing ain't gonna pop out. There we go. Ah! Drop the bolt. Got too ahead of myself. I'll find out where that bolt came from. Oh, came from in here. Alright, well the case is off. I will flip it over, but I got the screws in it. So that was easy. Somebody's been in here before. Ooh, I see some of the thrust washer remnants. Here's the thrust washer that goes around the crankshaft. Everything stayed. Oh, that was the shift shaft that we was hanging up on. But everything stayed nice and neat. Yeah, this crank bearing is junk. Alright, so I ordered the gasket set. It should be here next week. Today is Friday, and like I said, we got some snowy weather, and it's gonna be putting a lot of places behind. But yeah, this is the thrust washer that goes around the crankshaft, down where the crankshaft bearing is. There's a transmission. So maybe, well, I'm gonna use the cover off of it anyway. I was gonna say we could put a crank in it, but the other covers, we can order a cover for this bottom end. I don't know if I'm gonna repair this one or not, but anyway, got the cover off. Good cover, it's not broke. We didn't damage anything. Oh, everything looks good in there. So it's pretty easy. Some of them you have to force to get them off, and you have to use that tool. Now I don't know how that one's going to be. Hopefully that one spreads open like this one without force. But anyway, I'm gonna end it here. Like I'm saying, I'm gonna get that one tore down, and we'll get the gasket. I don't want to tear it down right now. I want to wait till I get the gasket. I want to get the right puller that pulls the flywheel. There's a puller that screws onto the flywheel, and it pushes against the crankshaft. I have one, but it's too short because that crank is real long, and the puller that I ordered goes over, screws onto the flywheel, and then the bolt pushes against there. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself and have a lot of stuff tore down. I'll probably just wait before I tear that one down. We'll get the top end stuff off, and like I said, the gasket set, and then we'll just put it all back together one time. I don't want to have a bunch of stuff laying around. So that's going to be it for now. Hope y'all enjoying some nice weather. Like I said, we got a lot of snow today, but still got these tore down. They're still sitting here. We haven't touched them. I did order some hubs, some Warrior hubs, so I can put the new tires on. That's for Warrior. I talked to some guys on the Warrior group page, and they said those are blaster wheels, both of them. That's why the bolt pattern is so small. So somebody just put blaster wheels on both of them. You know how it is. You find a good set of wheels online or something, or somebody had a scrap blaster. So I'm waiting on the hubs to come in so I can put the hubs on this one, and we can put the new tires I got on. And I got chain rollers coming, stuff like that. So that's gonna be it right now, folks. Like I said, y'all have a good weekend, and I'll see y'all when I see y'all. Like, share, subscribe, and comments, and all right, so we got some parts in. We got the new gasket set. It's for a 350 Raptor or Warrior, 87 through 2004. So just a China brand gasket set. It's got the valve seal. It's got the cylinder gasket, the side cover gaskets, and a lot of O-rings and stuff. We got the puller or flywheel puller. This just screws right onto the outside of the flywheel, and you turn this out before you screw it on there, and I'll show you. You can hold this with a wrench, and you can crank down with a socket, and as this screw pushes in towards the crankshaft, it pulls that flywheel off, and that's the correct size there for a Warrior or Raptor. We got brand new timing chain, tensioner, and the timing chain guides. So I'm gonna put all that new, which is probably nothing wrong with the timing chain that's in it. but just to be on the safe side, I'm gonna put all this in. And I think the timing chain that was in the other motor was new. The guides didn't look like they had that much wear on them, but as cheap as you can buy this stuff now, I'd rather just go ahead and just put it all new. This company here is some company off of Amazon. Big LKNM. So I guess you can look that up if you look for some Warrior Raptor parts. It's just a coincidence that they had, you know, this. I don't think this came from somebody else, but I know these two came from the same people. I'm sure they sell other stuff for four-wheelers. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get this cylinder and head and stuff off, get it all broke down, and get the piston off, and then start tearing into this side cover. I found out something too that's broke on it. They even broke this ear right here where the oil filter goes. I don't know what they was doing with this engine. They got a lot of broke tabs and chain came off, and I mean, so anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get it tore down so we can be able to put that center case on. Now, I did find out this case does not have a gasket on the inside. It just, you can use the Yamaha or some, I use the gray Parmatex stuff. It's real good. But I did read up that sometimes these cases, when you changing out case halves, it's best to change out both sides, because both sides of the case halves was machined at the same time. I mean, hopefully we don't have a lining up issue. Hopefully that other case half will go on this half good, and then it'll seal up. I have heard that. I mean, I don't know how true it is, but you know, some of this stuff was made the same day. It was machined at the same time, so it could be a slight defect in both case halves, and you got to have both of them to match. But we'll just see, because I really don't want to have to pull everything, well, the crankshaft out of this case and put it in the other case just so the other side will match up. So we'll see about that when we get there. Either way, I gotta tear it down, so I'm finna get busy doing that. Alright, so let's get started tearing this thing down. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this cam gear cover off. That timing chain looks new too. Well, it looks new by the color of it. Like I say, it might have a brand new timing chain somebody put in there. I'm pretty sure this motor's been into. But I'm trying to get this screw off of here. These Allen head screws are kind of worn. We'll lay that over there. So we need to get this gear off here, and I'm not going to worry about putting it at top dead center right now. I can do all that when I get ready to put it back together. It's not going to bend any valves or nothing like that, because the motor is not rotating, and plus we're just going to take the chain tensioner, let the chain loosen up. But while the chain is on there, I'm gonna go ahead and loosen that. I can see some wear on that bolt, so that means that somebody been in there. Let's see, can we get that off? That is a 5/8. Nope. 12/17. I'm just going to loosen it so that way And then I'm going to take the tensioner loose, and that will take all the tension out of the chain. I'm going to take this hose off. The tensioner is two 8mm or 5/16. Oh, that's all the way out. So that chain, it's got some kind of wear on it because this is an automatic tensioner. And when you get ready to put it in, you take this nut right here out and you screw it back. You screw this spring-loaded deal here back to hold it back until you put it in the head, and then you let it loose. And it kicks against that timing chain guide, which tensions the chain. It's all the way out, so I don't know. We'll see how the guides look when we get it loose. But here's your timing mark. I don't know if you can see it. It's a little tab right there. Like I say, I ain't worried about top dead center right now. I'm more concerned about getting it tore down, because we're going to have to time it anyway. Now you can, if you're just doing the timing chain, you can get you like a clothes hanger or a piece of wire. You can wrap it around the chain, keep it from falling down, because if it falls down inside of the bottom end down there, what's going to happen is you have to take the side cover off, and behind your flywheel you have to put the chain back on the gear that's on the crankshaft. So usually you can just take like a piece of string or rope or a zip tie or something to hold your chain, like tie it somewhere where it won't fall back down in there. So I ain't too much worried about it right now. I mean, we're taking all that apart, so I guess we can. It's kind of hard to tie it. Oh well, we'll just let it sit right there. It'll be all right. So now we got the cam gear off, chain off, tensioner off. Here's your timing mark. They got it marked with a piece of with some paint or something on there, but that's your timing mark right there, that line. And there's a dimple right here, so when it's in time, that should line up. And then there's one on the crankshaft gear, and there's a mark on the block of the case half. So these are Allen head bolts, so I really need the torque sequence, so we'll know. I have to get the book. We'll know exactly how to pull it off. Table's kind of dirty. Make sure you're working in a clean environment where you can put all your stuff in order. So let's see. Pull the cylinder head off. So in the book it shows it. I don't know if you can see that. It shows your tightening and loosening sequence. And I think to loosen, you will want to go the opposite. Let's see, removal cylinder head. So we're actually going to start like they're saying. So number one will be these two Allen bolts right here. And then we got 4 bolts that go down through the cylinder head, all the way through the head and through the cylinder. So we're going to start with those Allen head bolts. Try and sit this somewhere where I can see it. Let's see. It don't say what size that is. You want to get the right size. I really don't like putting an impact on Allen head screws because they can strip. So they got the motor facing the opposite way. It's hard to tell which way they got the motors turned. So I'm going to say it's going to be right here. Now when you get them loose, you can use a impact. Especially if somebody's been using the wrong bolts. Strange thing is they don't say anything about this one way down here. You got to have a long, one of those long Allen wrenches to get to that one. I guess that one is just, but there's one here, two here, and four up top. So then we'll go to number 3, which would be this one on the back side. Now these I would do with an impact because they're bolts. That's 3. When you come over here, it'll be 4. And 5. And 6. And I'm guessing that one single Allen will be the last one. Now all of these are different lengths too, so I just got to get this one in there. Have to get that with an Allen wrench. I would find the shortest one I got. Yeah, it's best if you use a long Allen wrench to go down through the hole of the cylinder head, but you get more turning radius. I don't know if I got an Allen wrench that long. Might have to get it with some pliers, some vice grips, just to get it to turn a little bit. I got it broke free, but I don't have an Allen wrench that long enough to go down in there. But this should come loose here in a minute. good thing about having the book, you don't have to waste your time thumbing through the internet trying to find out what the torque sequence is and all of that stuff. There's that bolt. Right. Try and put these to the side where they won't get mixed up. Two of them are longer than the other ones. And they got some washers too. Don't want to lose those. That one's stuck on there, it'll be alright. We'll lay these to the side. Should be able to lift the head off of it. Let me get a rubber mallet. There's the head off. There's the timing chain guides. Cylinder don't look that bad. It really don't look bad. It did have some smoke. I don't know if it was carburetor smoke, but you can see how the valves look. They got all that carbon on it. Somebody left. Okay. That's the O-ring that goes around that stud. Thought they had left it out. So put the head right here. Nice room for that. Alright, so now we got the head off. Now we just got to get the cylinder off. All the bolts are loose. So I always use a rubber mallet because these fins are real thin. You go hitting it with a ball peen hammer or a sledgehammer or something, you break the fins off. Yeah, it's got an aftermarket piston in it. Somebody's been in it. And actually, the cylinder don't look bad at all, though. I kind of got it wet when I pressure washed it. Yeah, so cylinder looks pretty good. I don't see any harsh marks or anything. Cross hatches look good. There's a piston. It's got some kind of name on it. Can't really tell. I'm gonna have to crank it over to get it to come up. For what I feel, the crank bearings feel good. It's got a 30 over. Is that 30 over? Nah, they don't say 30 over. That's a part number. The rings look good too. But we got a brand new top end we're putting in it anyway. So now we got that tore down. I need to get this side cover off so I can rotate the engine. That's a good thing about the pull cord ones. You can pull the cord, rotate the engine so I can get this piston up a little bit so I can get the clips out. Whoever put it together, they put the rings in the right spot. You're supposed to put the ring gaps far apart from each other. Now, I don't see any marks on the piston. Here's the chain. Alright, so let me clean up some of this stuff and we'll get this side cover off here. I'm going to bookmark that. Let's see how much wear the guides has got. It got some wear. I mean, maybe that's just how far out that tensioner goes. I don't see any metal showing. So the timing chain was actually good in this one. But you never know till you tear it down. It was tight. It just seems like to me this tensioner was just way out too far. I could be wrong. Well, might want to leave that on there because oh yeah, she's good and tight. It looks brand new in there too. Somebody might have put a crank in it. One of these should come out. It's this one. It feels good. Let's see. going to mark this piston. I mean, it's got an arrow on it. That means front, so it's already marked. I didn't think it had some of them don't have arrows on it. Now we just got to get this pin out of here. Find something. This part's starting to go everywhere. Slide off this block I got here. It's coming. Looks good. I don't think this piston's been in there that long. Like I said, it had a little smoke, but I believe it was more like carburetor smoke. The rings are nice and free. This piston there, it had some kind of name on it. You can't see it no more though. We'll set it down. Alright, so we got that off. Crank. Side to side is not a real big deal. What you're worried about, I mean, it can be a big deal, but not a whole lot of a big deal. But what you're worried about is up and down play, because it's got those thrust washers on the side. The up and down play is what you really. Feels tight to me. It had oil in it. That's all I got to say. So now we can get this crankshaft bolt off and pull this cover off. Get the starter out. Matter of fact, while I got it in the air like that, I'm gonna go ahead and take the starter out. Take it on there. The rock between there. Looked like it had an oil leak behind the starter too. Like the O-ring on the starter was giving out. Starting to run out of space. are moving along just fine. Just fine. So I believe I might have to pull, I know I got to pull the crankshaft bolt off. I don't remember if that cover needs to come off. I don't think it goes over the top of it. The block of wood just don't want to cooperate, does it? There is a seal in there. Okay, so now we can pull off the stator cover. Look like, did they put mismatch bolts on this thing? Look like they put mismatch bolts. It's supposed to have 8mm all the way around. They got Allen screws. That's why this one was too long and broke that case. Start finding out stuff as you go. So my microphone was giving me some problems, and I didn't get a couple of the segments. A couple of them didn't have sound. So basically this is the old motor, the one that has the crankcase that's cracked where the chain hit it. And I'm actually tearing it down, getting ready to split the cases to put the new case half on the motor. So taking off the stator cover with the stator in it. See here, making sure everything stayed put. That's the starter gear, getting it out of there. Well, I might just wait till I take the flywheel off. So we're going to use the pulley puller that I got. It screws onto the flywheel, and the flywheel has threads on the outer part of it, and that tool screws onto those threads, and then you use the bolt to push against the crankshaft to pull the flywheel off. Now you can hold that tool with a wrench. I don't remember what size it was, or you can use a crescent wrench. And then you can take an impact, turn it on that bolt, and it will push that flywheel off of there. Go get the right size wrench. That is, I can't tell what size wrench that is, but you see I'm holding it I'm going to hold it. I think that looks like a 17 millimeter impact socket. I'll find out what size wrench that is if I can remember. So, hitting it with the impact, and it slides right off. And you got to be careful because on the back side of the flywheel, it is the starter clutch, and it will come off. And it has the one-way bearing inside of the starter clutch gear. There's a timing chain, the starter gear, tensioner. So the flywheel is off, and I don't know where I went to. Oh, I'm back. I think I was just putting everything together, so I wouldn't lose it. There's a bearing on there and like a washer on the shaft. I'm getting the chain off. Really, that chain looked pretty good. Tensioner has a little wear in it, but I bought all new timing chain tensioner. If I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna go back new. So look for something. Paper towel. So I guess I'm gonna flip it on the side and start taking the bolts loose. Studying it real closely. Really all that can stay on there because the bearing is going to stay on the crankshaft. So get ready. Now if you look in the corner, there's a cardboard box right there. I drew a picture of the bottom end so that way I can poke holes in it. Well, I poked holes in it. I can put the screws in the exact location where they come off. So when I get ready to put the bottom end back together, I know exactly where those screws go. So basically, in this clip here, I was just talking about the bottom end and how the crankshaft bearing stayed onto the crankshaft when I took that case half off, and all the transmission and shift drum and everything, kickstarter, well not kickstarter gear, countershaft, sprocket, gear and all stayed on one side of the bottom end, which is good. Some of them, when you take them apart, stuff springs everywhere and you have to keep up with it, but this one was pretty simple. So basically just talking about that. I don't really remember what else I was saying. Like I say, my microphone took a crap, so I ended up getting a new one and was able to use it in the rest of the video. Anyway, so I'm going out here now. So that case half there is the one that actually came off the motor that was running good. It just had that crack with chain hit. This is the case half off of the motor with the bad crankshaft bearing. So these bearings in here, they run all your shaft, your counter shaft, sprocket shaft, shift drum shaft, I believe, transmission shaft. Those bearings were freezing up, and that's because all that metal shavings from the crankshaft bearing got into them, and they were stiff. They didn't want to turn. I tried cleaning them out. That one right there is completely locked up. So good thing I did check them, or I would have just put this case half on there and something would have locked up, came apart, or the transmission probably wouldn't shift or anything. So what I'm going to do is take the bearings, and I'll show you. That one right there was locking up and it sounded real bad. That one just won't turn at all. So what I'm going to do is take the bearings out of the case that's cracked and put them into the good housing. These bearings over here turn over real good, nice and smooth. And I'm just going to take those out. I have a special tool that you can pull bearings out of cases. They call it a blind hole bearing removal tool. As you see, some of those bearings you can't access all the way through. So I have a special tool that can pull those out. And we're just going to take all of them out and put them in the good half, case half, and that should solve that problem. Alright, so this video here is actually about the special tool I have to pull out those blind hole bearings. This tool is specially made to get to bearings that don't have an access from the rear, like if it's in a casing and you can't get in there with a punch to knock it out. These tools have special shafts that spread out into the bearing races, and you can use either the slide hammer, or there's like a puller that presses against the casing that you can use a socket and ratchet or wrench to back those bearings out. I think it's called a blind hole bearing puller. You can pick it up from like Amazon or something like that. But it's a real cool tool. Like I say, it spreads out into any size bearing. I don't know, it goes up to certain sizes. I don't think of your big, humongous bearings, but smaller ones like these works great on like motorcycle casings and maybe a motorcycle wheel hub bearing. So you find the size and you just put it in there, and it has these rods that you screw into the spreader shaft. I think that's what they call it. And then you can put like this puller. Kind of looks like a pulley puller. You can screw that on there, and that shaft there you just turn in. So I hate that the sound's not working because I was really explaining it better. But you want that thing in there tight as you can get it. As you screw in on that shaft there, it spreads the other part open to lock into the race. And then you can use this thing or the slide hammer. I think it turns counterclockwise onto that threaded rod that goes into the spreader. I hadn't used it in a while, so it's taking me a minute to get it set up. But this is the housing that all the bearings are good. It's just the case is cracked. So that's going to press against the case housing. And it's supposed to be, you turn in on that rod, the threaded rod, and you hold that bigger nut with a wrench, and as you turn in on that threaded rod, it's pulling the bearing out. Like I say, you have to know the direction on how to turn it. Should be eased right out of there once I get the direction right. You know, some of that stuff they don't give you instructions with when you order it from different places, so you have to figure out how to use it yourself. So actually, it's starting to work now. Pull it right out of there. I like using the slide hammer. It's better to use, but you have to have it secured down, whatever you're working on, because that slide hammer just make your piece jump all over the place. But it's coming out of there now. Look at it. So I'm going to do the same thing on all of them, and we'll get all of them out this case housing and get it over in the new one after I get the bearings out of the other housing. We'll install these. Good news, good news. So I finally got all the bearings that were bad out of the new case half, and that one in particular bearing, this one here, was seized in there. I think because it was locked up, it must have got too hot and it expanded the race of the bearing. But I got it out, got it all cleaned out and everything. Here's the old bearings, and these things are in rough shape. Hear that? All that metal got in them, and I think it's just kind of flattened out the balls inside of the bearing. That one there ain't too bad. Well, I feel it. It's like you can feel like a bad spot. This is the one that was locked up. It won't even turn. It's locking up now. And this one here, it's okay. But anyway, we got those out. We got the new used ones in there. And I got both case halves cleaned best as I could so I can get ready to put the new case half on the rest of the bottom end here. Got some gray Permatex. I love using this stuff. I use it all the time. It's kind of like Yamaha. If you're familiar with Yamaha, Yamaha is like the gray sealant that they use on their bottom ends on the case halves. It's about the same thing, but this is way a lot cheaper than Yamaha. So anyway, I am going to get ready to get some sealant on here and get ready to put this thing back together. I did notice this shaft here, it has this cut in it, half moon cut. Well, inside of the casing, you can see it. It has a half moon cut too. So that's got to line up. If that don't line up, then the case, it won't flush out. So I'm gonna have to make sure that everything is going back in all the holes. Let's see. All these shafts just got to go in correctly. So I'm gonna go ahead and we'll get some sealant on it and move along. Okay, so it's time to put the sealant on. I'm just going to lay a bead all the way around. It's hard to come out of this tube here. Should I just take my finger and smush it down? Maybe that'll be better. Let me get some on the steel first. Tell you what, I'm gonna take it out of this thing. I can get more. A little bit too much. I'll just do it like this. It'll be a lot easier. To me, I don't even think they put this much at the factory. They just put like a little thin bead. Call it a day. Thing about silicone, you get it mixed in with oil, it will not dry and it won't stick. It won't stick to nothing. So you gotta make sure you got a good clean surface, because any kind of chemical, oil, antifreeze, transmission fluid, any of that gets near silicone, it'll just roll right off whatever you're trying to glue together. I think what I'm gonna do, just gonna put a light bead on the cover here, because I can't get up. I can't get up in these little areas on the case half, right up in here. So I'm just gonna put some well, we got that already. I think we pretty much got everything covered. We got that center section. We got all that covered. Whole case covered. That's covered. Just kind of going over it. I want it to be a good bond, because, like I was saying, sometimes these case halves, when you're swapping to a different part of the engine, sometimes they're not machined correctly, and I don't want to have a gasket leak. So my main concern is this shaft, like I was saying, the way it's made. So hopefully everything just drops back down on there. Everything's got a little grease on it. So I think we'll be good. Gotta hurry up before that silicone gets too dry. Look at that. Drop right on there. I turned that shaft exactly how it looked, how inside of the casing where it had that little half moon part, I turned that shaft exactly the way it looked inside of this case half, so that way it just whoop, right back on there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start some bolts in it, and I'm just gonna snug them. I'm not gonna go crazy and start torquing them down. I'm just gonna because I don't want the silicone to come oozing out of there. So I'm just gonna, I'm trying to get an angle where you guys can see. There's grease everywhere. I tell you what, I'll get some bolts in it, and then I don't want that thing to move. But what I'm gonna do, I got all the screws in this box. I'm gonna start a couple of them. I don't want the case half to come back apart, so I'm just gonna go around and put them in there. Stuff like this you don't really want to mess around with. I'm just gonna put them in, and I'm gonna snug them just about where they're gonna tighten up, so that way it don't ooze all of the silicone out. I'm gonna let it sit for a while. Then I'm gonna go around and retorque. Not using any power tools. I'm gonna use just a socket with an extension. I could put a ratchet on it, because some spots are gonna be hard to get to. So I'm just gonna go around, snug all the bolts. Went together real easy. Some of these cases you got to you got the bearing that stays inside of the case half. On some of them I've seen, they can be a pain. This is one of the middle screws. if you put all your screws in a box like that, you can keep up with all of them and know where they go. Last one. We all snug down now. So, like I say, I'm gonna let it sit for a minute. Make sure everything is let the silicone cure a little bit. Then I'm gonna go back around and retorque everything. Then we'll be ready to put the stator and the flywheel, starter gear, oil filter, all that stuff back in this side. But yeah, it's all back together. So we'll be ready to rock and roll. So I'm gonna let that sit, go grab a bite to eat, come back, finish torquing all that down, and we'll be ready to get the top end back on it. Got the cylinder, ring and piston, and the head all together, along with the timing chain and tensioner and guides. So in the book it doesn't show, but there's actually a timing mark on the inside of the casing, and there's a timing mark on the crank gear for the timing chain. There's a little dot right there, and if you look up on the motor, it's kind of hard to see. There's like a little arrow. See if I can zoom in on it. It's kind of real hard to see, but there's a little arrow right, I'm trying to focus on it. You probably can see that little arrow right there. It's right there on the case. Well, that's got to line up with this dot here, and then up on your cam gear you have a line. There's a line right here. I should have put some paint or something on there, but this dot right here is your timing mark on the cylinder head. Well, you can see it with no light. So that is your timing mark on the cylinder head, and then there's a line right here on the cam sprocket. So that'll be top dead center. Some reason in the book it don't show how you can time it without having the flywheel on it. The only way it shows in the book is with the flywheel on it. You turn the flywheel till you get to the T, and there's a little window on the outer case half, the cover that covers your flywheel and stator. You take that little screw out, and the T should show up in that window. This is your mark on the cover, and then that's the T. But it don't show nowhere. It shows the cam, but it don't show nowhere about the timing mark that's on the crankshaft sprocket. So that's an easy way to time it if you got the motor tore down. And if you're not sure, you can always put your flywheel on, take that little screw out of the side cover, which is this little flathead screw here. You take that out, and there's a hole right here, and you'll be looking down. Let's see if I can pick this thing up. The T is right there. T for time. F is for firing, T is for time. You don't use the F. Not that I know of. But that's how you can time that. So now all I gotta do is put the starter gear on, the flywheel, and put the stator cover on, and basically that's it. Be ready to put it back in the bike. And also I want to show you on these tensioners while I'm thinking about it. These things are spring loaded. This is the old one. So to install it, just take this screw out. And there's a spring in there. You preset this tensioner. You have to hit this little trigger. I got the camera on one hand. And you push in on it, you preset it, you stick it in the hole up here. Make sure the ratchet part is sticking down. You'll be able to tell this has got to stick downwards. Stick it against the chain, bolt it up to the head, and then you put the spring and then screw back in. And another thing, camshaft bolt torques at 43 foot-pounds, and the head bolts are 29 foot-pounds, and these are about 14 foot-pounds. So, and this bolt here, it don't even have a torque spec for this bolt. It don't even show it in the breakdown. So I just torqued it down as good as I can. But anyway, I'm going to call it for the night, and then I'm going to get that cover cleaned up, get the flywheel, like I said, all that stuff on there, and put the rear sprocket on, well, camshaft sprocket, get it on, and get this baby back in the frame, and hopefully be able to fire it up and run good and get it all together and take it riding. Even though it's about 20 something degrees outside, we've been having some cold weather here in Memphis, so don't know if I'll be able to ride it much, but we'll see what we can do. Okay, so here is the flywheel, and I've already put on this roller bearing, your Woodruff key, and there's a little spacer, little flat washer that goes behind here. So then you put on your flywheel, and then there's a starter gear that goes in this hole. You don't have to put it on now if you don't want to. It'll slip behind the flywheel, but there's an actual shaft and two roller bearings that goes on there. I can get those for you. So this shaft here, it's got a little spring clip that holds the bearings on that end. Sits in like that. And then you put your gear over the top of it, which is your starter gear. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that in and get the flywheel bolted down, and then we'll get the stator cover on. Alright, so finally got the flywheel on, and we got the starter gear back in there with the shaft and the bearing, and it's in time. So right here, when you put this cover on, that T should be through that little window. There's a T right there. That's the little screw you have to pop out. How did that get stuck on there? The whole thing is magnet. There's a screw you have to pop out, and then there's a T. So it's in time now. I need to mark that mark with a yellow pen. So the only thing I gotta do is put the stator cover on. It's been cleaned up, and button it up, and she should be ready to go back in and hopefully fire up and run like brand new. All right, so the motor's in. That sucker is heavy, but I got it in. I was looking at the carburetor. I think I'm gonna take the carburetor off and clean the outside of it. I took the bowl off of it and kind of briefly looked in there. It didn't look bad. This is the carburetor that came on this four-wheeler. So I'm thinking about just taking it off and shoot some carb cleaner at the outside because it's all dirty and muddy looking. And so yeah, so now it's time to really get to work, wiring everything up, get the shifter on it, all that good stuff, and then I'll bring you guys back when it's first start time. So I'm gonna go ahead, get a lot of wiring stuff buttoned up, and I'll bring y'all back. The correct wheels on the back, but all in all, it sounds good. Like I said, I'm gonna let it cool off a little bit. I didn't see any smoke coming out the exhaust, just a little bit, but that's just for where I dumped a bunch of oil down on top of the piston so it wouldn't start up dry. So these are the correct Warrior spindles, and got these from, you already know, Amazon. They come with the new stud lug nut bolts, nuts and lock washers. I think they were like $40 brand new. So I'm gonna put these on so I can put the other wheels on there. So there's spindles. We'll get those on, and should be good to go. Let's fire it up one more time. Whoa. That carburetor might be loading up a little bit. I think that carburetor's loading up a little bit. Yeah, it's got gas pouring out of it. I think the needle seat's sticking. Well, that carburetor lasted what it could. Should have been coming out of the drain. feels like the needle stuck for a minute. If it does it again, I got a brand new carburetor, but it's for a Wolverine. Then he gave me a carburetor too. Well, that carburetor was different. Seems to be cleared out now though. Yeah. Needle and seat's not shutting off. I turn the gas off, it'll run better. Yeah, that carburetor, the needle and seat is sticking because it's got gas coming out right around the bowl area, so we don't need nothing right now to be dumping too much gas in a brand new top end. So I'm gonna take that carburetor off and flip it over. It might have got some trash floating around in it because it cranked too good. And like I said, I got another carburetor, but it's for a Wolverine. I think, I guess we could use it. A buddy of mine gave it to me, except this one has the flange that you put a hose clamp on, and the Warriors has a double bolt-on flange, and the studs come off of the carburetor. This is a brand new carburetor here, China brand. We could use this one. Like I said, I have to change the intake. I don't know yet, but I'm gonna take the bowl off that one first before I do that, because yeah, it's starting to load up. It's not good. It's not good on a brand new top end. But this is the carburetor that was on the other bike, the one that ran. This one, it didn't run that great. The choke is messed up on it. But see how the Warrior carburetor's got the two studs. So I really don't want to put this one on there. So I'll take that one off and check it. Let some of the smoke clear out now. We got black smoke floating around, and we'll let it cool off, and then we'll get back with it. So I ran into a pickle. I was getting ready to put the spindles on the back of this thing, and I found out that it has bad carriage bearings, and this thing is wiggle woggy. So these carriage bearings are bad. Actually, I think I see what it is. Are these nuts tight? So I see some play. It might just be these nuts are loose, because I see a little small gap there. When I wiggle it, I might try and tighten these up. If that don't take care of the play in the carriage bearings, this ring over here on this one looked like somebody put a new axle in it. It's real nice and shiny. And the only play it's got, like I showed before, the swing arm bushings are gone. I don't know if you can see that, but it don't have any play in the carriage. So what I could do is just take this whole carriage, axle, everything, and put it over in this one. But first I'm gonna try and tighten these nuts up here. If that tightens it up, it's got a grease fitting. It should have a grease fitting somewhere. This one don't have a grease fitting. This must be the stock one. I think the stock one don't have a grease fitting, but the aftermarket does. This one's got a grease fitting right here. So I might try and tighten those up. That don't work. I'm just going to drop the carriages, put that one over on this one, and vice versa, and then go ahead and put my spindles on. Rear wheels, got new rear brake pads, and the chain rollers I ordered were wrong, so I ordered some more, and then I should be able to button up the back end. So I'm gonna see what I can do to fix this. That don't tighten up. I got that one already jacked up, ready to go. All right, moving right along. Finally got the whole axle bearing carrier swapped off of the other bike. We got the chain on there. We got new brake pads. Got the brakes all hooked up. Of course, we got the wheels with the new spindles. So this one here can go back outside, out of my way. And now I'm going to start putting the plastics on. I ordered a brand new chain and a case saver. The case saver is a thing that goes right here in front of the chain, so if it does throw the chain, it won't crack this ear off like it did on the last case half. So that won't be here the next week sometime. But I went ahead and put the chain on anyway, got it all lubed up just in case I want to take it out for a spin. But I'm gonna go ahead and start putting the plastics on, get the headlights on, and get this thing on together. So progress is in the works, so we know it runs. Apparently it's going to stop. It's got new brakes all the way around, and the clutch was working before I tore this engine down, because I did ride it for a short period of time, but it ran like crap because of the carburetor, and that was before we tore it down, did the case half and all that. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started getting the plastics on and make this thing look like a four-wheeler. Alrighty, here it is, all put together. The plastics, the guy told me they had some scratches, and looking at them now, they do have some scratches in them. So they're kind of faded. I believe they probably can be buffed out, but for now, it's just what it's going to have. Kind of tired. Been working on this thing all day, but finally got it together. Still got to clean up on it, and like I said, I ordered a new chain for it and the case saver. It won't be here the next week sometime, but it looks good. It looks better than it did when it had the car painted plastics on it. Well, actually it wasn't this frame, it was the other frame, but still it looks way better. Got all the lights hooked up. The tail light, it's got a blown bulb, but those are not the factory headlights. Those are some kind of LED headlights. They were already in there. The original headlights had just a bulb in it, but looks pretty decent. It's got the right wheels on the back, so we will get this thing out and take it for a spin. But it is late, and I am going to turn in to bed, and we'll play with this thing another day. But yeah, it's all together, brakes all the way around. So we will get at it as soon as I get it out and take it somewhere to ride it and see how it holds up. Yamaha Warrior 350 back in action. Thing runs pretty doggone good now since we put the new top end off of the motor with the bad crankshaft on the bottom end that had the cracked case. So when I first got the other four-wheeler and this bottom end was on it, I rode it one time and I could just tell it was lacking power and it smoked. So I believe what the problem was, that top end that was on it was had some wear in it, and so then I decided to swap the case half because it was cracked where the chain came off, and they had some JB weld down there, and I wanted to fix it where I can put the original chain guard back on it anyway. So like you see in the video, we tore it all down. We took the new top end that was on the motor with the bad crankshaft and put it on this motor, and it's got tons of power now. I mean, I went back through the carburetor because when I first cranked it ran good, and then the carburetor started loading up. So I went back through the carburetor, soaked it for a couple days, got that straightened out, and yeah, it's a good unit. So y'all like stuff like this, give it thumbs up. I'm gonna try and get some more sport four-wheelers for the channel, and of course I'm gonna try and get a lot of the four-wheelers and dirt bikes, but I'm trying to find some sport four-wheelers that need some loving. But she looks good. The plastics are scratched up, they need to be cleaned up, but a set of Warrior plastics is expensive, especially with shipping. But these are not broken, they're just scratched. Look like the guy was doing a lot of woods riding and just scratched up. Plus they're black plastics too, so those scratches show up more. But I'm gonna get out here and have some fun with it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I say, keep looking out on the channel. Also go over to the first channel, RPM Auto. Check it out. Like I say, I just did a video on there. You can check that out. I'm trying to keep all the small four-wheeler dirt bike stuff on this channel here, and keep all the car, truck stuff on that other channel. So check out both, like, share, subscribe to both. Make sure your notifications on. Hope y'all having a good rest of the day. Sunday. I don't know when this video gonna come out. It might come out late tonight. I got a lot of stuff going on this evening, so I'm gonna try and get it edited before Sunday's over with. Matter of fact, I'm going to go pick up another four-wheeler here in a little bit. So if I don't get it edited and put out today, which is Sunday, I know I have it out tomorrow. I hate doing late edits, but sometimes life can get in the way and you just don't have time to do it. So anyway, we got some light rain that's heading this way again. I'm gonna get out and ride this thing. Y'all have a good Sunday. Hope you had a good weekend. We'll holler at y'all later. Let's see here. These tires won't let it do a donut. go. That did not land right. Suspension feels good. These little higher heel. Does run good though. Over here somewhere I hit when I was riding the YZ250. I might have too much air in the back tires. Don't want to spin.